Land tax, land tax, land tax, land tax. What is it? We're going to talk about this morning and how it is gobbling up investors, and it's a big reason why investors are leaving the market. We're going to talk about land tax. Stay tuned.
I'm the ringleader, so listen up.
Gobble, 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 gobble.
Gobble, gobble. I'm an investor and I'm just being swallowed by that land tax.
Oh my God, it's real. It's real. So, Xanth, you're new to this topic, so you got a couple of questions. You're a virgin to land tax.
I am a
You got
virgin to land
for me.
tax. Not a virgin of many things, but land tax is one of them. So fire away. So from conversations we had off the air, land tax is only applicable to investors. So if it's your primary residence, you actually don't need to pay land tax.
Ooh.
Is that correct?
So a lot of people are just, I guess, a bit au fait with it. They're like, yeah, nah, it doesn't really apply to me, and that's why, because it's owner occupiers aren't exposed to the land tax. But a lot of if people decide to move out of that property and rent it out, they could automatically be exploding over that threshold. And that's what we're talking about, because this is a big number. To give you an idea, an example on numbers, I've got landlords at the moment that own a basic house. What happens is the valuer general has an assessment for the value of your property, which is the value that's used for land tax. So every year, what people don't know, they actually get an assessment from the government saying, we believe your property value to sit here. So on units, it's actually divided up by how many units are on the land. So
Okay.
To give you an idea, if the land's valued at $5 million and say there's 10 units on the block of land, then that's 500,000 for your unit. 500,000 is the assessment for the land for your portion of your unit. Now, if you're a house and you're $2 million, and that's your assessment from the valuer general, which is getting the valuer general sends out their assessments at the beginning of every year, so everyone's going to get whacked in January, February, and partially into March, saying here's your assessment. And that's where people are going to have like a quiet little heart attack saying, oh my God, it's gone up again, because it's a rolling 3-year average. So when they're assessing it, they'll assess the peak periods of 2022 that we had, as well as the low period of 21, and then the comeback of 22. So it's actually still working its way upwards because it's a rolling 3-year average.
Yeah. Property prices are going up and now land tax is going up. Gosh, cost of living going up. No wonder why investors are leaving the market. It's in particular with houses. I just feel like they're getting bent over at every angle, really.
So Xanth, to give you an idea on a house, if the valuer general assesses you at $2 million on your house, and say you are already over the threshold because you may own something else as an investment, that $2 million will be assessed at 1.6%. That'll be your tax rate that you'll pay. 1.6% on $2 million is $32,000. 32,000 divided by 52. Testing my maths here, is going to be about $500, about $550 a week. You will have to pay for
on
land
top
tax.
Of mortgage, on top of all of your rates, on top of everything else. So it's just another expense, really. But if I do own a house, and let's just throw some examples out there. How do they actually determine the land tax of each suburb? So each micro area within each suburb. If I'm on the headland of DY, that land surely is worth more than the outskirts of DY pushing towards Cromer. Would that land tax value be the same?
No, good question. It's higher. So when that valuer general sends his assessment out, him or her, when they send their assessment out, it's done digitally. So it's quite a broad stroke. So they'll say they'll look at your block size in Narrowena. They'll say we think they're about here. They'll look at the block size, location, median value in North Curl, and they'll pump it up a little bit. Now it's the UCV is the unimproved value of the block, so they don't care about what's on it. If it's a mansion or if it's a vacant block of land, they're purely just interested in assessing the land. When they do that. So to give you an idea of those numbers, Zan paying $600, $500 to $600 a week on land tax. So a landlord who buys a property in the Northern Beaches for $2 million,
Yep.
with a house on it, is going to rent it out for probably $1,200. Of that $1,200, the landlord's going to have a mortgage of about 6%. Mortgage is going to be about $120,000 at 6% for the year, right? If they borrow all the money, so they're going to have a bill of about $2,000 for. They're going to have a bill for $2,000 for interest, and they're going to have a bill for $600 for land tax. So it's $2,600. The rent they're going to rent a typical house out in Narrowena is going to be $1,200. So they're going to have to fork out of their pocket $1,200 a week, given where the climate of where interest rates are at the moment and where land tax is at the moment. Now, the reason where I'm going with this is that I have a phone call every single day, or even sometimes a couple of phone calls every single day with landlords talking about the crippling effect of land tax. So this crippling effect, so a lot of we used to have I shouldn't say it, but the European, the WOG investor, the Greek or the Italian, they were brought up to buy a house, rent it out, buy another house, rent it out, buy another house, rent it out. That model, and no one's talking about this, that model has pretty much imploded on the back of land tax. So these guys often have modest homes on the block that they're renting out, and more often than not, before they've even maintained the home or even paid the interest for the loan, even if they have loan on half of the place, the land tax at $600 is just going up every single year. This year it may be $600, the next year it may be $700. So it's changing the profile of the investor of what they're actually looking for. So believe it or not, I'm getting the old European owners that used to only buy houses. I'm getting those guys turning around now saying, sell me a couple of units.
I was just about to say that. I suppose the flip side of this is moving away from the investors buying houses and it's really pushing them towards the apartments. I mean, if you've got that land tax threshold of $969,000 for this year, you can find some lovely 1-2 bedroom apartments throughout the Northern Beaches that don't tip over that threshold.
And I think this isn't by default, this is by design from our government. What they're trying to do is if they can push investors into units, they can promote building. These big empty houses. They love that model of being able to. The government loves that model of getting people into a more efficient living standard. So it's going to be really hard for a young family to rent houses in the future, given the way land tax is modelled. And it's going to be really hard for landlords to buy houses to rent out now and in the future because of how land tax is modelled. So it's really pushing towards medium to high density investments.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. I mean, buying your first home is a big deal, and it's hard for anyone across the board. And then when you couple that with a huge influx of an Asian market coming in to purchase houses as well, It's very competitive, and the way prices are going, they're just continuing to rise and rise and rise.
Yeah.
It's tough.
It's nuts, but it's not something that you talk about that you can share with everyone as an investor. It's probably not a barbecue conversation. Interest rates certainly is because everyone's in it together.
Yeah.
But land tax, it's like, boo-hoo for you, poor you, who cares? It's an investment property. But, you know what I mean? Like,
Still hurts. I feel like we need to make it less of a taboo topic and make it spoken about a little bit more often. It's out there. It's hurting a lot of people. It's pushing people away from investing in homes, pushing them to apartments. Why can't we talk about it?
Yeah, definitely. And you know what? You can effectively own, for the same value of a $2 million house in an area around where we are, you can effectively own about 6 units of the same value. Right? So, sorry, of much higher. So you can have $6 million worth of units or a $2 million house, and that's the same amount you're paying in land tax. Right?
Yeah.
So investors are going to go, you know what? If I model my profile to purchasing around strata, and because it's lower land tax, I'm going to be better off. But some landlords are stuck in the houses that they've owned for a very, very long time and are simply just selling them to owner occupiers, which is great for owner occupiers. But the tenants that traditionally, the young family tenants that traditionally rented that, no longer.
Yeah. Interesting topic.
Land tax guys, keep an eye. If there's any questions to the live show, you can throw it at us. But it's definitely it's one to watch out for. I don't think it's a bit like stamp duty. I don't think it's one of those things that gets reduced. Right, but I do have to say, if you do feel you're being unfairly treated with your assessment of land tax, so when that comes out during the year, you've got about 30 to 60 days to appeal your land tax assessment. So we have got Stephen, a bank valuer, who's an absolute pro, specific to the Northern Beaches, who will actually look at your property for a couple $100, assess if that land tax, the value on the land tax is too high for your property, and then he'll actually take on the case against the valuer general onto the value of your property, which will then reduce. So to give you an idea, last year he saved tens of thousands of dollars to some of my landlords that he was onto, bit of a Rottweiler, and he only charged a couple of $100 for doing it. So it's important.
What's the success rate with that though? So if I'm going to be spending a couple of $100 to say, no, I don't feel like my property land is worth this value, it's worth way less. What's that success rate when you're competing against the valuer general?
I think he for about $150 he takes on the case and does a initial assessment. For another $150 he'll do $250 he'll do the submission to the valuer general, and if successful, then he gets another 3 or 4 after that. So it's based on a success rate. But you know what, Zant, you know what your house is worth as a landlord, and I think if you can see your land tax assessment and you can see that if you put your house on the market, you know what it's worth, and you're like, that is absolute crap, that's not what my land is worth. If I put my land for sale, I would definitely not get that price. Then you know you're being unfairly treated. So most people know what their land is actually worth from sales in the area, and that's where you feel gypped, and that's where you take on the valuer general.
Good to know. Absolutely. That's a wrap.
That's right. Have a good day. What are you doing today?
Working. Where else would I rather be?
Anything interesting you're doing?
Well, we've got caravans first up this morning, so that's always a good time. What's the property market doing in 15 seconds?
It'll be on there. Watch out for it. It's coming. And caravans, if you don't know, guys, we're going through all of our new properties. I don't know why we call it caravan.
Because we jump in your little mini caravan.
Yeah, but the industry's called it caravan for about
is
30,
it?
40
Okay.
years. Yeah,
I didn't know
yeah.
it was an industry word. I thought it was just some weird phrase that Novak used.
Been around for 40. It's been around for the 30 years I've been around, so it's it
Gosh.
was a long time for me. So yeah, I have to ask. I have to ask a retired real estate agent and see.
Ask Glenn, he would know.
Glenn will know. Glenn will know. All right, Dan.
All
Have a
right.
good day. Thanks
See you
everyone
guys.
watching.
Have a good week.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.